What up? Marcus here with you as always. Any objections to a new Dark Souls lore video? No? Alright, great. Let's break out the Pringles and Coke and let's fucking rock this shit, y'all. Oh yeah, by the way, this is gonna be kind of a longish video, so I recommend that you guys use the links in the description to jump around to find what you're looking for. Yeah, so notice, persons attempting to find a motive in this narrative will be prosecuted. Persons attempting to find a moral in it will be banished. Persons attempting to find a plot in it will be shot. Mark Twain, 1885.
Fuck you, Mark Twain! I'm a rock and roll clown!
Okay, today, let's start off talking about the new Londo ruins. First, we can infer from their name that they were built as an extension of Anor Londo. So they're just kind of an extension of that city. And Anor Londo's high above, of course. Indeed, it seems that the ruins were once a magnificent city. So from the description of the key to the seal, we learn the following. This is the key to the floodgates of New Londo, which seal away the four kings who fell to dark. The sealers flooded New Londo to banish the Darkwraiths and the four kings. The agonizing decision was made with the realization that countless lives and the robust culture of the city would be lost. The victims now roam the ruins as ghosts. So the city had some serious culture kicking. Other than the architecture of the city, which many players point out is similar to the ruins in the Darkroot Forest, you can see evidence of this culture in the magic of the sealers of New Londo. But I would like to point out, this is the civil engineers of New Londo were terrible. Terrible. Why is there a floodgate in... Anyway. Alright, so who were these sealers? The sealers of New Londo. Going back to the description of the key to the seal, we see that the sealers were responsible for flooding New Londo. They did this to protect the world from the Darkwraiths and the Four Kings. All the ghosts that you battle in the city are the former residents of New Londo who were slain by either the Wraiths or the Floodwaters. The sealers themselves were renowned healers. This information comes from the Crimson Robe description, and the mask of the sealer further reveals that there were in fact 3 sealers, although 2 of them forsook their duty and left New Londo. One of the sealers is encountered in game. His name is Ingward, and he holds the key to the seal. Prior to you obtaining the Lord Vessel, he will not give you the key, but you can still get it by killing him. Ingward tells you the story of how New Londo was sacrificed to protect the world from the Darkwraiths and the Kings, and that they are the enemies of all living things. He also warns you that mortals cannot survive the Abyss, and tells you to seek out and learn from Artorias, which kind of indicates that he believes Artorias is still alive. If you talk to him after defeating the Kings, he will leave New Londo as he feels that his duty is fulfilled, and you can then talk to him at Firelink Shrine. If you kill him, he laments that he failed in his mission. So Ingward basically is one solid bro. Another solid bro, MichelKobayashi, who cataloged all of these friggin' dialogues and archived them on YouTube, so go check out his channel. Ingward, he also has the power to remove curses. He sells a sorcery to the player called Resist Curse, and its description also hints at his abilities as a healer. However, he also sells Transient Curses, which is the arm of a cursed corpse. You can look at the description. Limb of the victim of a curse. Temporary curse allows engagement with ghosts. The only way to fight back against ghosts, who are cursed beings, is to become cursed oneself. The safest method, however dreadful, is to cut off an arm of the dead. Basically, Ingward seeks to protect the world from the Wraiths and the Kings, and he is willing to do what he must to achieve that goal. whether it is sacrificing the lives of his countrymen or desecrating the bodies of the cursed dead. Unlike the other sealers, however, he does not waver in his duty or in his atonement for the sacrifices that he made. So he's a really interesting character. I really like Ingward. But what of the other sealers? One of them goes by the name of Yulva. The Crimson Set insinuates that the other sealers tired of and abandoned their duties, but Yulva seems to have done so for a noble reason at least. In Blighttown, you can find the Remedy Sorcery, which says that it is the sorcery of the red-robed Yulva, one of the sealers of New Londo. Reduce bleeding and poison buildup and undo various poisonous effects. One of New Londo's unique healing sorceries. Perhaps she abandoned her sealer duty to take her healing arts back to Blighttown. There are several small tidbits there. The first is evidence of New Londo's advanced culture, at least as far as sorcery goes, and also note that this is sorcery, not a miracle, and that's kind of an interesting point to me, because casters associated with Gwyn often use miracles, not sorceries, but, you know. The next interesting thing is that Yulva was attempting to cleanse the poison in Blighttown. Would have been really great if she had managed to pull that off, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that have been really great? Yeah, that would have been great. The final point of interest is that she was taking her healing arts back to Blighttown, which means she has been there before. And she most likely died there too. Next to the chest with the Remedy Sorcery is a body wearing the crimson robes and clutching a 10 banishment catalyst, which is the staff of the sealers. So, rest in peace, Yulva. We all wish that you had succeeded in your mission, but you didn't. You probably got poisoned by one of those asshole blow dart guys, which, by the way, a really clever way to get by them that was revealed in a radio interview by the developer. If you use a dung pie to toxic yourself, then the blow dart guys can't inflict you with toxic because you're already intoxicated. However, the damage that you take from a dung pie intoxication is lower than the damage you take from a blow dart intoxication, so you basically immunize yourself against their attacks. They said they actually didn't intend that, but that's just kind of... Alright. This is a lore video, I'm sorry. Just an interesting, crazy little detail to the system, but... the sealers. Unfortunately, I have no information on the final sealer. If you have any solid info, please let me know in the comments. But I don't think there's any information about the third sealer. Also, by special request here, I will briefly mention that there were a couple of planned items related to New Londo that were cut from the final game. One was a chance to hide your presence from ghosts, and another ring that absorbs damage but has a fixed chance to break. MichelKobayashi once again to the rescue with an edit of the text dump of the game's dialogue. Check the link below and make sure and go to MichelKobayashi's channel with a big thank you. We're talking about a pillar of the community right here. Amazing person. Let's move on to talking about the Four Kings. For anyone out there who is still confused about why exactly you had to battle them, they possessed a shard of a Lord Soul. Now, the Lord Souls were needed as fuel for the Lord Vessel in order to open the kiln of the First Flame. As you remember from the opening movie, there were 4 Lord Souls, and they were taken by Gwyn, the Witch of Izalith, Grave Lord Nito, and the Furtive Pygmy. So, the burning question here would be, how the fuck did the 4 Kings get one? Well, actually, they only have a part of a Lord Soul. They have a part of Gwyn's Lord Soul, in fact. After you defeat the Kings, you receive an item called the Bequeathed Lord Soul Shard. There are 2 different items in the game with this name, but they have different descriptions, so... one comes from the Kings and the other comes from Seath. The following is the description of the 4 Kings' Soul Shard. Soul of one of the 4 Kings who fell to dark. a fragment of a Lord soul discovered at the dawn of the Age of Fire. Lord Gwyn recognized the foresight of these 4 great leaders of New Londo and granted them their ranks and the fragments of a great soul. Although this is not a full Lord soul, it can still satiate the Lord vessel. And that reveals quite a bit about the kings. They were actually great leaders of New Londo, and they apparently served Lord Gwyn, as he granted them titles and the fragments of his own Lord Soul. But they turned into assholes of the highest caliber. How did this happen? Despite some people's arguments to the contrary, they appear to have been corrupted by Darkstalker Kaathe. Kaathe? Is it Kaathe or Kaathe? I always forget. Darkstalker K. I'm gonna call him Mr. K. From now on, when I say Mr. K, I'm talking about the Darkstalker. It's just... my pronunciation's terrible, so... Now hear me out. I know a lot of people out there don't draw a direct connection between K and the Kings. There are 3 primary reasons why I believe they are connected. First, mortals normally cannot survive the Abyss without the influence of some sort of covenant, like the Covenant of Artorias. Artorias made a pact with the beasts of the Abyss, and it is likely that the Kings also did. Once again, what beast dwells in the Abyss? Mr. K. It is possible, even likely, that there are other beasts, but by name we only know of Kaathe and Fram. Second, the Kings utilized the art of life drain. Now, this is a technique for stealing the humanity of another living being, and it is a specialty of Kaathe and the Darkwraiths. I decided to say Kaathe, by the way. Finally, the description of the Dark Sword says, when the 4 kings were seduced by evil, their knights became Darkwraiths, servants of the dark who wielded these dark swords. Beyond that, Ingward actually states in one of his dialogues that the 4 kings are the masters of the Darkwraiths. So there you have it. The Darkwraith enemies were once knights of the 4 kings, and the Covenant itself is led by Kaathe. Wow. So former leaders of New Londo, former followers of Lord Gwyn, transformed into humanity-stealing beasts by Darkstalker Kaathe. Okay, wait a minute, Epic. Last time, you said that linking the fire was the bad ending, and that it played into Gwendolyn's, Fram's, and possibly Lord Gwyn's plans. Are you saying that both endings are bad? Are you saying that we are being manipulated no matter what we do? Kinda. First of all, I want to clarify that the link the fire ending isn't necessarily the bad ending. It depends on your point of view. But let's talk about Kaathe first, and then we can go from there. To meet Darkstalker Kaathe, you must first you have to defeat the 4 kings before you put down the Lord Vessel. He will then be available for conversation in the Abyss. If you bring him the Lord Vessel, he says the following: "The truth I shall share without sentiment. After the advent of fire, the ancient lords found the 3 souls. But your progenitor found a 4th, unique soul, the Dark Soul. Your ancestor claimed the Dark Soul and waited for fire to subside. And soon, the flames did fade, and only dark remained. Thus began the Age of Men, the Age of Dark." Darkstalker Kaathe claims that your ancestor found the 4th Lord Soul. The soul that Kaathe claims to be the Dark Soul. Note, he does not say that your ancestor is the Pygmy, although it's the logical conclusion, and that's just an anal little point right there. He doesn't at any time say Pygmy. The Pygmy is not, in fact, mentioned in the game outside of the intro. One time. Only one time in the entire game, including the dialogue that was cut from the game. Yeah, but yeah, he's talking about the Pygmy. Kaathe goes on to say that Lord Gwyn trembled at the dark. clinging to his age of fire and in dire fear of humans, and the Dark Lord who would one day be born amongst them. Lord Gwyn resisted the course of nature by sacrificing himself to link the fire, and commanding his children to shepherd the humans. Now this meshes well with what we know of Lord Gwyn, but I urge you to take this in carefully. Unlike many other games, every NPC in Dark Souls has some sort of personal motivation, some sort of reason behind their words and actions. Kaathe claims that Gwyn is afraid of humans, but isn't Gwyn more concerned about the undead rather than humans? Were things that bad before the darkness came and the humans became undead? The course of nature. Is it the course of nature for humans to become undead? Or is it the influence of a powerful force, like a Lord Soul, like the Dark Soul? Obviously there is no cut and dry answer here, or I would just give it to you. I would love to just say this is the answer, but there's no simple answer to this. But instead I'll do my best to lay out the facts and let you make up your own mind about it. Kaathe goes on to say, Gwyn has blurred your past to prevent the birth of the Dark Lord. I am the Primordial Serpent. I seek to right the wrongs of the past to discover our true Lord. But the other serpent, Frampt, lost his sense and befriended Lord Gwyn. Undead warrior, we stand at the crossroad. Only I know the truth about your fate. You must destroy the fading Lord Gwyn, who has coddled fire and resisted nature, and become the fourth Lord, so that you may usher in the Age of Dark. If you befriend Kaathe, Frampt will retreat to the Abyss. If you befriend Frampt, Kaathe will retreat to the Abyss. But if you usher in the Age of Dark by abandoning the final bonfire, both Frampt and Kaathe will greet you as their one true Lord. However, they appear with many identical heads. So here it is, ENB's opinion. This is not fact, just what I think. Actually, I've changed my mind about this several times, and I probably will again while reading the comments. So this is my opinion as of the time this video is made. Click the annotation to skip it. If you watch this a month from now, I've probably already changed my mind. And like I said, if you're not interested in speculation, just click the annotation or use the link below. But a lot of people have been asking for my speculation, so here it goes. The Pygmy. I think that the furtive Pygmy is long gone. He either died naturally or as an undead hollow. The intro states quite ironically that he is so easily forgotten, for he seems to be all anyone thinks about these days. The Pygmy is the progenitor of the undead. He is the cause of the spreading undeath. In that respect, he is the ancestor of the player character. Take note that Kaathe isn't telling the player character that he or she is special in this regard compared to other undead. Kaathe says there have been others. Indeed, he most likely told the same tale to all of the future Darkwraiths, the kings, Kirk, and perhaps even Artorias. I think Kaathe is telling a half-truth. The Pygmy is your ancestor in that he spread undeath to the world, and you are undead. But how? How did he spread undeath? I think that the dark sign which brands the undead and humanity itself is part of the fourth Lord Soul, and it is split amongst all of the undead. From the four kings and Seath, we know that a Lord Soul can be split and given to others. I believe that both the dark sign itself and the usable humanity items are fragments of the Dark Soul. If you read the in-game item description of the humanity item, it says, "This black sprite is called humanity, but little is known about its true nature. If the soul is the source of all life, then what distinguishes the humanity we hold within ourselves? My answer is that the humanity within ourselves is natural humanity, and the little black sprite is actually a fragment of the dark soul. It is an unnatural form of humanity. This is a black sprite called humanity. It's only called humanity. It represents the force of the Dark Lord soul. And we know that the flames of the Lord souls eventually fade. It's the same problem that Gwen's dealing with. The consumption of humanity is the fading of the Dark Soul's power. If you think back, the Rite of Kindling quips how peculiar that humans had found little use for humanity until they turned undead. Now that could just be a little social commentary, or it could be a useful little hint about the nature of humanity. I think it works like this. Normal humans have only the humanity that they are born with. They don't have and don't need a stock of humanity. They are born, and when they die, that's it. As a result, the bonfire's powers don't grow weaker as they are not continually spawning undead bodies. Undead, on the other hand, are reanimated by the power of the dark sign and the bonfire. This removes humanity from the cycle and causes the bonfire's strength to fade, thus reducing the Lord of Sunlight to the Lord of Cinder. To maintain their human form, undead must either seek out and consume the fragments of the Dark Soul, humanity, or steal humanity from other living beings. So, what does this mean about Kaathe and Framt? Those bitches are playing both sides. Those motherfuckers are playing both sides, y'all. If you link the flame, they buddy up with Gwendolyn, the main remaining god of Anor Londo, or, if you killed him, they have no master. If you don't link the flame, the world will soon be swallowed in the darkness, like the Abyss. Oh, and watch your step. There are no bonfires for you to respawn at if a snake accidentally bumps you into the Abyss. So, yeah. I think that, both Kaathe and Framt, I think they're just playing both sides. They're manipulating the situation however it goes. So yeah. Okay. Enough speculation from me for this video. I'll change my mind again by next week anyway. It is fun to come up with ideas about this stuff though. That's one of the awesome things about the game. We're all here gathered around our digital bonfire, swapping ideas about our shared experiences in Lordaeron. And if you are watching this long after it's created, then the flow of time is somewhat distorted. Parallels, we draw them with crayons. But all my fucking speculation could be for naught depending on the word of God. And a quick update on the art book. For some reason, its release was delayed by 1 month. I also heard that it will have 5 developer interviews. ... Yeah. Sorry for the long-ass speculation. Let's talk about something we've got some solid facts on, like Beatrice. Beatrice is a rare example of a sorceress who is not from Vinheim. She is known as a rogue witch, and she attempted to traverse the Abyss. So if you check out her pimpin' hat, almost all magic users that employ a wand or catalyst studied at Dragon School. But Beatrice is one of the few exceptions. She braved the Abyss, but did not live to tell of her ordeal. Her staff is also apparently quite old. It says it's a catalyst belonging to Beatrice, the rogue witch. It's different from Vinheim catalysts. This ancient catalyst shows signs of being used for age-old sorceries. It has passed the hands of many generations to get here. But Beatrice probably wasn't the only one to brave the Abyss. I mean, we've got homies like Kirk as well. Darkwraith Kirk, from the barbed straight sword description. The choice weapon of the infamous Darkwraith Kirk, also known as the Knight of Thorns, for the gnarly spikes on his favorite weapon. So, Kirk is listed as a Darkwraith. He either ventured into the Abyss or Kaathe came out of the Abyss, and the former seems more likely. A very interesting note about Kirk that comes from outside the game is that he is apparently a member of the Daughters of Chaos Covenant. He is a member of the Chaos Servants Covenant. Once again, this is from outside the game, so if you just want to disregard this, that's totally cool, but he is collecting humanity for the Fair Lady of Chaos, which is why his armor set appears in her room if you kill him all 3 times. This was confirmed in a developer radio interview. Perhaps he betrayed his covenant. Perhaps he just wanted the red eye orb, or he wanted to purchase some cracked red eye orbs. He was seeking life drain, some way to invade and steal humanity. I'm including the links to both the original radio interview and the translation performed by Kaelsmith, and thanks so much to you, sir. Thank you very much for making that information available to people in English. If you want to download the original radio interview in Japanese, just follow the on-screen directions and look at the link I click on, and you can do it too. Yeah. In any case, not all invaders are absolutely Darkwraiths. The cracked red eye orb lets you know. The cracked red eye orb allows players to temporarily imitate this ability normally limited to the Darkwraiths of Kaathe. Yeah, so there you go. Characters like Maneater Mildred, just because she's a red phantom does not mean that she is a Darkwraith, because there are other ways to invade. Yeah. Okay, this is running really long. Let me briefly mention Artorias. First, I've already talked about him before, so I will refer you to the Followers of Gwen video. If you want to know the basics about Artorias, if you want to know some stuff about him and the other Followers of Gwen, check out that video. I've already talked about Artorias before. But I will point out that Ingward insinuates that Artorias was immortal in his dialogues. So not immortal, mortal, a human. And for everyone suggesting that Kieran left her ring on his grave, I will remind you that the Lord Blade Kieran's ring is found on a female corpse. Bada bing. Another question I often get from people is whether or not Artorias is on the North American box cover. I don't know for sure, but I doubt that it is specifically Artorias. So why is there a big glowing badass using some of the coolest looking stuff from the game on the box? Marketing. This is kind of a well-known phenomenon, but box art in Japan tends to focus more on the atmosphere of a game rather than the characters, whereas Western releases are often the opposite. There needs to be a strong character image on the front of the box. And the image on the box was probably chosen by Namco Bandai and is most likely completely unrelated to the plot. So yeah. By the way, I think Bamco has been doing a really good job picking up some awesome titles from Japan recently, but they really need to step up their standards as far as game manuals go. The North American Dark Souls manual is easily the most useless and unprofessional manual I have ever seen. It is a piece of garbage. It is a piece of garbage. You can't even read half of it because of the background. It's fucking crazy. Anyway, I wanted to talk a lot more about the potential connections of Kareem with New Londo and other things, but I am out of Pringles, out of Coke, and out of time. So I'm gonna go to the stove, pick up some supplies, and then I'm gonna go play some Anyway, that wraps this one up. I don't know as of right now if I will make another Dark Souls lore video or what it would be about. If I do, it will be at least a couple of weeks from now. And if I do make another one, then I promise I'll make it worth the wait. There will be a video about the art book when it is released though. And once again, the art book release was delayed by about a month, so at the end of March is when it will come out now. So as to why they delayed it, I don't really know. I really recommend checking out the radio interview. If you understand Japanese, then I recommend listening to it. If you don't understand Japanese, then you need to thank Mr. Kaelsmith, because he translated it, and the links to the translation are in the description. And it's a really good listen. there's lots of interesting stuff there. Alright, I will catch y'all later.